It gets busy in October in Zambia's Kasanka National Park. That's when the fruit bats arrive.
The bats come from the Democratic Republic of Congo, but also other colonies in Zambia. They come here because at this time of year the fruits are ready, they're ripened. Mainly they're feeding on local masuku fruit and waterberries, but also other fruits that they just have in the villages, such as mangoes and bananas and any fruit they can find, really. Every time I see it, it's amazing. I mean, it's funny, when at the start of the bat season, when the bats first started arriving, we decided to come down and just have a look to see how many there were. And even just coming down right at the start, when there are only maybe 10,000 or 20,000, we were blown away.
The bats' arrival marks the beginning of high season for Dion Scott. He's the park manager, and Kasanka is the destination of the world's largest mammal migration. No one knows exactly why the fruit that grows here annually draws in some 10 million of the animals, many of which fly great distances. But throughout Africa, their habitat is under threat.
The main challenges for the bats are loss of habitat. So they roost in forests and through this part of Africa in rainforests mainly. The bat forest itself is very small. It's only about 1 kilometre long and about 400 or 500 metres wide. The main threat to the forest here at Kasanka is fire. Earlier in the year, a big fire came through this part of the bat forest, and the soil in this area is a peat soil, and it burns, and so the fire comes in underground and burns out the roots of the trees, and that's what's happened to this tree. It's burnt up inside the tree, and then it's completely killed it.
The fires are often laid by poachers. They burn the grass away so that it grows back faster. Fresh grass tempts antelopes to the open clearings where the poachers can pick them off. The authorities try to prevent poaching with fire breaks and regular patrols, but the many people living on the edges of the park see the animals mainly as a source of food.
If we see any sign, we go for an ambush. Let's say, for instance, we saw footprints entering the park through the path. We have to go there and lay an ambush. And if we are inside the park and we heard a gunshot, we have to make a follow-up. Like at night, they use torches to shine. Yeah, so you can see a torch at a far distance and you have to track them.
Education is important because the locals tend to be frightened of the nocturnal animals. Bats are associated with disease and sorcery. So the project regularly invites parties of school children from the surrounding communities to enjoy the spectacle.
Going in different places. As you are aware, they can even travel.
A guide explains the fruit bat's way of life on location.
To go where there are fruits.
That helps change attitudes towards the harmless mammals. It's usually the first time children have seen the natural marvel that takes place right on their doorstep.
After teaching the young ones, these young ones will take the messages to their parents. If the parents can know about birds, then we are going to have a lot of birds in Kasanka. A lot of people in the community have misconception about birds because they are nocturnal animals, as well aware. So other people say that most of the witchcrafts uses birds, but looking at the way they are not. They are just slow-colored fruit bats.
It costs a lot of money to protect the bats, and financing is hard to come by. Tourism generates most of the necessary income. People who come to the park have money. A stay here isn't cheap, but the project needs the funds to survive.
Thank you.
And this is another single.
And
Brian,
just
can
time
you
it
try?
for me.
Yeah, oh, please, yeah, please.
You wouldn't be able to get down the tree. Oh, that's off again. Oh my goodness.
We came here because it's a different part of Africa and a part of a forest area of Africa we've never been to before. The bats were here, but the big excitement is also the langur falcons who are gathering as well.
The fruit bats play an important role in the ecosystem here. They're food for many predators, and they also spread seeds with their droppings. A bat can fly up to 100 kilometers a night in Kasanka Park. With the forest here now protected, Dion Scott says the flying mammals can live here undisturbed.
I think there's a great future for them as long as we can continue to protect the habitat that they come to roost in and that they come to feed on. And we're doing our absolute best to try and protect it, and as long as we can keep doing it, they have a great future here at Kasanka.
There's no real quiet here until the end of the year when the bats take off again. But next year, millions of them will be back in this little corner of protected forest in northeastern Zambia.